Guys, I'm 10 minutes early. This is my first stream, obviously, so I'll try to be efficient. What I came here to say. So, first things first, I've made this short PPT. Let's see if actually I want to pin the chat here. Cool. Mm, yeah, no, that's good. Guys, I want to start if I see some news. Hello, am I audible? Yes. I have one person watching here. A quick hello. Yeah. That. How to get more views, bro? Shall I move forward? Can I see some messages in the chat so that it will be motivating me? I want to proceed forward. Messages in the okay, okay. So I guess let's start with the topic today. I know this is obviously the boring part, introduction to hacking. This is obviously boring, I know that. Introduction to ethical hacking. But anyways, uh, in I have an upcoming exam. Actually, I should schedule the exam. I did not schedule the exam yet. I have the voucher of CEH practical, and then I'll write the exam. Because I was not active since a few months because I went for an internship, and that's the sole reason that I did not upload any videos or did any reels on Instagram. But from now on, I'll try to be consistent. So, if we proceed with today's topic, it's simply introduction to hacking. Obviously, I guess you know what ethical hacking is. That is why you've opened this live. So, anyways, what is ethical hacking? If we go with it, is simply the process of identifying potential threats. That means what are the security loopholes that are there on a computer or network, and ethical hacking is performed by whom? Obviously, the ethical hackers, aka the white hats. We are specifying that only white hats do ethical hacking because there are different types of hackers who do wrong stuff for wrong things, but the ones which do things in the right way legally, those are ethical hackers, and we are ethical hackers. Actually, what is ethical hacking? It is simply what hackers do in this process. They simulate the attack techniques used by malicious hackers, the real world hackers. Like, for example, there is some chat application. In the background, there is a malicious hacker who is trying to read the messages in the conversation. What he does is break into that connection and read the messages. Being an ethical hacker, we will try to do the same thing, but in the end we will try to fix, we'll see what is wrong with the service, and we'll try to fix that. So that is ethical hacking. Going to the next slide, simply the types of hackers. I don't need to stress on this much. We all know there are many types of hackers, basically four types or three types simply. One, white hat, the one who does hacking legally to protect the systems. And then comes the black hat, who is a malicious hacker with a criminal intent. And comes the gray hat, which are who are those hackers which hack for fun and also sometimes legally. They come in between. They sometimes violate law for fun or for money, etc. Other than that, there are many other so-called hackers, some like script kiddies. These are not actually hackers, but these script kiddies use scripts developed by scripts or applications or programs or tools developed by other real hackers and do the so-called hacking. whom we can call as a real hacker. It is the one who has the mentality of a hacker, someone who can think like how this system works, how can I break it. That is how a hacker thinks. But a simple script kiddie, what he does is, okay, there is some CCTV, I want to get that into my control, and I'll try to hack it with some known scripts. If I do that, I'll become a script kiddie, nothing but a script kiddie. But a real hacker, he'll think, what are the flaws in it, how can I take it into my control. That is how a real hacker thinks. And when it comes to white hat, he will only do the thing or hack only when it is permitted to him. And other hackers like hacktivist, state sponsored hackers, etc., obviously. Can I see some chat, guys? Do some comments, okay, so that I'll be engaging with what I'm saying here. And I'll also know if you're what you want to know. And also language, what is comfortable. I can speak in English and also in Telugu. And when it comes to Hindi, I may not be that good. मुझे उतना अच्छा आता नहीं है. So far 13 views, and that's good. All going to the next slide. It's phases of ethical hacking. I don't need to stress much here, but it's the fundamental when you start learning about this. Phases of ethical hacking. First, reconnaissance. In this reconnaissance part, it's nothing but information gathering. So when we want to compromise a target, first we need to know information about that particular target. Like for example, um, you want to take control over a particular web server. First, you need to gather as much information as possible, and that process is known as reconnaissance. Nothing but information gathering, and then scanning. You'll just gather more information, but actively gather information. That is, you might directly interact with that particular target. In that time, you'll find live hosts, ports, services, etc. And then it the next stage comes to be very interesting. That is gaining access. That is the interesting part, right? You will gain control over that system by exploiting vulnerabilities. I mentioned here dash exploiting vulnerabilities just so to make you think that that is what is being done in that particular phase. And next, maintaining access and clearing tracks. Maintaining access, this is some more a bit advanced. And clearing tracks, it's nothing but, you know, you'll clear the footprints that you've made. So, goals of hacking. Hey there, one more viewer. Next comes the goals of ethical hacking. Simply, it is to evaluate and improve security posture, identify security flaws. This is nothing, right? Like, it is the obvious goal of an ethical hacker to improve the security of the target he is performing the assessment against or the hack against, right? And next, what are the skills required? I think um, this is the most in, interesting part where the young hackers or people who wanted to come into cybersecurity are interested in ethical hacking want to know. So this is how you start to become an ethical hacker, and that's simply you start with learning network fundamentals, like how actually the computers communicate, how the systems communicate over the internet, how the internet works. This all comes under networking fundamentals. And then programming knowledge. Programming knowledge is not very necessary, but it is as important as it sounds. If you know programming, it is well and good. If you don't know programming, that's also fine. But when you reach a certain level of knowledge, you will obviously dive into getting some knowledge on programming too, and that is up to you. You will know the importance and you'll obviously learn it. And next, cryptography, it's like a mindset, the way of thinking. It's simply like, uh, if you take a Caesar cipher, the very simplest cryptography ever, you will know how people are hiding things. Like this is used to be uh, used in the beginning of the stages of cryptography. Nowadays, there are so many advanced algorithms like SHA-512 and AES, obviously. And next, what more you need to learn? Familiarity with operating systems. Familiarity in a sense, you should know the in and out how that operating system works. Firstly, you'll obviously get stuck with Linux, because all over the YouTube people show do this ethical hacking stuff only using Linux. Because mostly, I can support that statement too by saying most of the tools which are used by these script kiddies and hackers, those are built on Linux, because it's much easier to build software for Linux rather than Windows. You can do hacking, ethical hacking, on Windows, on your Mac, and also from Linux. So it's better go with what you're interested in. And obviously learning Linux is important because it makes your command line easier. The learning the command line is first first thing when you come into this. And then after that, simply you'll need to dive into security concepts and start learning things. Like for example, if you just know how the operating system works, how the network works, what will you do? That is not important for companies or businesses, right? You should know how things work. Like for example, you just you need to learn more about web application security, network security, application security, like these things. Like for example, a firewall is there. You should know the in and out how a firewall works, and how can you play with the rules of that firewall so that you can gain access to some information that you're not supposed to access. So these are the things you need to concentrate when you start in this field. And then, um, scope and limitations, these are not much stuff. Like obviously you need to know what is the limitation and scope, and where you need to stop, where you do not need to enter. These all things you should learn, but it's not too interesting. Legality is not always interesting, but you need to follow that, right? So we cannot avoid. So a limitation is simply like, where we need to stop. We should not go beyond that. And it is most probably the legal agreement that has been made by the assessment contractor and the ethical hacker or the penetration tester. And next, information security concepts you need to learn. Like when you start learning about the ethical hacking, obviously you'll touch all these concepts. The CIA triad, nothing but confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Without knowing this, you cannot move forward. It's like, the base footsteps. And then authorization, authentication. Obviously, there are these things. You can learn them, and even start bug hunting like that. It's all about learning stuff. And coming to common attack vectors, like as I said, this is I am preparing for the CH practical, the exam which I have, the upcoming exam which I have. So I am revising. Other than that, if you want me to discuss any other thing apart from this, you can ask directly in the comments so that I'll discuss. Hi sir. Hello. Two viewers watching. Thank you, thank you. I hope the streams well. What I am telling, it's good. Hope I can get some feedback. Yeah, common attack vectors. Common attack vectors are malware. In malware, all the viruses, trojans, ransomware, adware, these all come under malware. And next, common types of attacks, those are phishing attacks, social engineering attacks, network attacks. Under network attacks, there are many different types of attacks, and one of few of those are MITM sniffing. And then the next crucial important attack vectors are web application vulnerabilities. In that web application vulnerabilities, there are so much you can learn. Like if you start learning about web application security, you can start bug hunting. Going to the next slide, legal and regulatory aspects. Obviously, these are the things that you should follow when you become an ethical hacker. Ethical hackers must adhere to. Adhere means like you should be in compliance with. You should follow. You should follow that. There are laws like IT Act. These are some regulations like things. GDPR means global data protection rights. That, yeah. And organizational policies, like if you're, for example, if you're working for, yes, 10 by 10. Thank you. Like if you are working for some company, like if you are doing a security assessment for a company, you took a contract, you should follow what are the policies set by the business or that company. And obviously the non-disclosure agreements, you should not disclose anything. The slides are coming to an end. Penetration testing versus vulnerability assessment. I think most of the viewers, like the three golden viewers who are watching, you obviously have some good knowledge in cybersecurity. So, coming to penetration testing versus vulnerability assessment, like this, it's not. I shouldn't have included this in this slide, but it's part of the module in the CH practical series, so I had to include. That's it. Penetration testing versus vulnerability assessment. What's the thin line which differentiates this both? Penetration testing is simulation of the real attack to really exploit the vulnerabilities. Like the vulnerable software which is there, it needs to be exploited completely, showing that this software can be compromised. Like for when you are hunting for bugs on real world platforms, you will completely compromise it. You will compromise it, and you will get a POC, proof of concept, that this can be compromised in this way. That is penetration testing. But this is like in bug hunting, it is like simple penetration testing. You'll try to find more and more and more bugs. You'll try to find one valid bug. But the actual penetration testing comes into scenario when you do penetration testing for a company. Like you'll take the contract and do it. And next, a vulnerability assessment. This is like a real uh, security contract with a company. The company hands over their some of their assets, like these servers. You need to do an assessment and tell us what are the vulnerabilities present in it. So you do the testing, identify and list what are the vulnerabilities. You'll not completely exploit it, but you'll get to know what are the vulnerabilities, and you'll show the management that, see, these are the things which your security is weak at, and you should improve that. Often combined in security assessments. The meaning of that line is simply, companies will tell you to do a security assessment. They'll not like deeply say that you should do a VAPT, you should do pen testing, not like that. It is simply a security assessment that you need to perform as a penetration tester or an ethical hacker. Both will be done at the same time. And coming to the last summary, it's ethical hacking is essential for proactive cybersecurity. Proactive in proactive in a sense, you're taking measures for something that is not already happened. Like you're protecting before being exploited. You're taking security safety measures. That is what you prove with ethical hacking. You do proactive safety. And summary, must follow a legal, professional, and structured approach. Because you're an ethical hacker, a white hat hacker to be precise. Oh, I'm really sorry, guys. There was a small distraction. Where was I? So, being an ethical hacker, we must follow a legal, professional, and structured approach. When you get into a job role, you'll obviously be following all the company's policies. That is because there is no option that you cannot follow. You should follow to be in contact with them. So that is how it works. That's why we know you need to follow a legal, professional, and structured approach. And then CEH equips you with skills to think and act like a hacker legally. Like, coming to an end, CEH is more like a beginner stuff. It will make you or prepare you to think like a hacker, act like a hacker. You'll get to know the basic stuff. And with this, the first module is completed. You have any more questions, guys? Pen testing is amazing when dumping the data of company to sell. It will be amazing, but ethically you shouldn't do that stuff. Tools for reconnaissance. Yeah, okay. Um Actually, I have a some other time I'll share a complete Excel sheet where I have prepared for. I'll cover as many tools as possible, which will be useful when doing all the phases. Like for exploiting, there are different tools, there are different scripts that we even don't know, that we're not aware of. But I have got my hands on them, so I'll probably share it sometime. For now, I'll share some recon tools. I'll tell you the names of them. See here, I have some notes. This is for scanning. I made these notes when I was learning. So actually, these are the next modules that I'll cover later. But anyhow, the discussion came up, so let's brush up. So mainly for scanning, obviously you shouldn't forget Nmap because it's the best, we can say. Or Rust scan also, it is fast. Then the NetScan Tools Pro, it is also a good scanner. And then pinging, like you people cannot think much about, like people think that they cannot get more information just with the ping, like the ICMP thing. But there is so much that you can gather information with ICMP. Sometimes even the Nmap tool cannot identify what operating system the server or the target is running, but it is sometimes very simple to just give a ping to that target and find what operating system the target is running. Like these are small things that you'll find, you'll understand or get a grasp on only when you start doing things. See, that is why I have here so many different types of scannings. Like ICMP ping scan, just a ping sweep. Normally, this ping sweep, this type of scan is used for finding all the live targets on a network. And there are different scans here. See, for example, I can say just with scanning, I've got to know a vulnerability in a penetration test that I have done in one of my internships. In that, actually, when I was doing a scan, when I send half half baked HTTP request to to that particular target or server, it was hanging, like the resources of that server is consumed totally. And like it's like a small DOS attack. And with that method what I followed, I came to know that the target was vulnerable to a slow low risk attack. You can search slow low risk attack and read about it. It's simply you, when you send half packets, half HTTP request, incomplete HTTP request, when the server is vulnerable to that particular attack, it will just be waiting for the next half of the packet or the next part of the packet to continue serving the request. But we know that we are only sending half of the packet, and next it doesn't move on, and the server fails to serve the actual clients. And moving forward, there are different scanning techniques where we find different protocols. Here with SSDP, simple service discovery protocol, we can scan much more info with this particular command. And these are some countermeasures scanning beyond IDS and firewall. Yeah, this is something which we face commonly. There will be a IDS or a firewall, like in a real world scenario, will not know how to scan after that, because most of the requests will be blocked by the firewall or the IDS itself. How to do that? We will learn more about it in the upcoming live sessions. So this is about scanning. Obviously, we'll learn next. Yeah, that's all about today. Anything you want to know more? All right then. Thanks for watching. Is all I can say now. Much more interesting modules will be coming up next, like the uh, compromising a vulnerability, like you taking advantage of a particular vulnerability and compromising a machine, a target, web service. These all we will be learning in the upcoming stream. I'll try to stream at the same time every day, and if you want something other than this, you can say in the chat. Sure. I'll share your notes. Notes. Probably I will share. Okay, I will share. After completing that particular module on the stream, I will share that notes. And anything more? I guess this is all for today. I'll end the stream when it hits 40 minutes. So, thank you for watching. Actually, I have many tools too. These are tools provided by EC Council to me. I don't know if I can share them or not. Obviously, I can, but the notes I cannot. But the notes that I made by myself, I can share. That's all for today. Thank you guys. Ending the stream.